He helped shape a regime that called America the Great Satan. But Ali Larijani's daughter lived, studied, and survived cancer in the United States. Green card, career, protection. She's not alone. Thousands of Iran's elite families live the same double life. So as war rages, why are the regime's own children still in America? Ali Larijani was one of the most powerful men in Iran, a philosopher, a politician, a conservative heavyweight who sat at the very top of the regime for decades. He was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Tuesday. He was 67. But in the days since his death, a quieter story has been pulling focus. The story of his daughter. Fatemeh Ardeshir-Larijani is a cancer specialist. She trained and practiced medicine in the United States, holding positions at university hospitals in Cleveland, and later at Emory University's Winship Cancer Institute in Atlanta. One of the most respected cancer research institutions in the country. She was an assistant professor there. In 2021, under the Biden administration, she was granted a green card. And here is the detail that stopped people cold. She is herself a cancer survivor. According to Iranian dissidents who monitor the regime, Fatemeh first came to the United States seeking treatment. The very country her father's government spent decades condemning as the Great Satan was the country that treated her, trained her, employed her, and eventually gave her the right to stay.
Fatemeh Larijani, the daughter of Ali Larijani, came to the United States for cancer treatment, the very country her family's system condemns, while millions of Iranians are denied access to basic healthcare and opportunity.
By January of this year, the pressure had become impossible to ignore. A Change.org petition signed by more than 156,000 people called on the Trump administration to deport her. Emory University parted ways with her shortly after. She has not spoken publicly. She has largely stayed out of the spotlight, something that, given everything, is perhaps unsurprising. Fatemeh Ardeshir-Larijani is not an isolated case, not even close. According to experts and dissidents cited by the New York Post, there are an estimated 4,000 to 5,000 relatives of prominent Iranian regime figures currently living in the United States. Hundreds more are in Canada and Australia. Inside Iran, they have a name for these people, Agzadas, the noble-born. And back home, they are deeply, bitterly resented. The list of names and the universities attached to them is striking. Layla Khatami, daughter of former Iranian President Mohammad Khatami, teaches mathematics at Union College in upstate New York. Following US airstrikes on Iran last month, her photo was quietly removed from the university's faculty page. Zahra Mohageg Damad, a niece of Ali Larijani himself, is on the engineering faculty at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where she directs a unit analyzing risk in complex technological systems, including commercial nuclear plants. Zainab Hajarian, whose father co-founded Iran's Ministry of Intelligence after the 1979 revolution, is an assistant professor of biomedical engineering at the University of Massachusetts Lowell. And in Los Angeles, Isa Hashemi teaches psychology. His mother, Masumeh Ebtekar, was the spokesperson for the student militants who held 52 American diplomats hostage for 444 days. American media at the time called her Screaming Mary.
I would think that there would be a security risk, as Iranian academics have been critical in forming public opinion on the left in the US, essentially deceiving liberals into thinking that the regime is more progressive when it's still advancing the same hardline agenda. A lot of them are nephews and nieces, and it's hard to track them because they don't have the same last name as the regime leaders.
the regime burned effigies of President Trump in the streets. It called America the Great Satan from pulpits and state television. And all the while, its most powerful families were enrolling their children in American universities, securing green cards, and building careers in the country they publicly despised. The noble-born landed softly. The question now, as war rages and petitions pile up, is how much longer America lets them stay. For decades, Ali Larijani was a name that rarely made international headlines. He was the quiet force, the man in the room who never needed to be the loudest voice to be the most important one. Born in 1958 in Najaf, Iraq, into what Time magazine once called the Kennedys of Iran, Larijani came from a family so embedded in the Islamic Republic that their fingerprints touched nearly every institution in the country. His father was a senior Shia cleric. His brother Sadiq ran Iran's judiciary for a decade. His brother Mohammad Javad was Khamenei's foreign affairs advisor and, remarkably, the man who introduced the internet to Iran. Another brother served as deputy health minister. This was not just a political family, it was a dynasty. And yet, what makes Larijani genuinely unusual in a regime full of hardliners and ideologues is this: he is also a philosopher. Not in the vague, honorary sense that politicians sometimes claim. He holds a doctorate from the University of Tehran, wrote his thesis on Immanuel Kant, and has published 6 books on philosophy. He lectures at the university level. He has written serious, peer-reviewed academic articles on the philosophy of mathematics that scholars in the West have engaged with and debated. Dr. Ofra Rector of Tel Aviv University, who has studied his work, says,
by paying attention to Kant's methodological conception and through non-trivial and non-dogmatic research, Larijani succeeds in taking sophisticated aspects of Kant's thought and utilizing them.
That is high praise from an academic, but here is where it gets complicated, because the same man who wrote carefully about truth and freedom also spent 11 years running Iran's state broadcaster, tightening censorship, building the propaganda machine, and once approved the production of a fake film designed to smear a reformist presidential candidate. The man who wrote about freedom of thought was the same man building the architecture to suppress it. His argument, laid out in his own writings, goes something like this. He believed that all human beings have a right to freedom of thought, but then came his conditions.
Everything that can spiritually elevate society should enjoy freedom in its domain, whereas anything that leads to social degradation should be considered as exceeding the bounds of spiritual freedom.
In other words, freedom, yes, but only the kind he approved. His career moved through every major center of power in the Islamic Republic. Revolutionary Guards officer during the Iran-Iraq War, culture minister, head of state broadcasting, chief nuclear negotiator, Speaker of Parliament for 12 years, advisor to Khamenei, and finally, Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, the body that sits above all others on matters of war and peace. Former British Foreign Secretary Jack Straw met both Larijani and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in 2005. He later wrote in his memoirs that while Ahmadinejad wore clothes from the early 1980s, Larijani arrived in a meticulously ironed Ralph Lauren polo shirt. That detail says something. Larijani was always the more sophisticated figure in the room, and he knew it. Professor Mehrzad Boroujerdi, an Iran scholar at Missouri University of Science and Technology, put it plainly.
Iran is not just a caricature state of the Ayatollahs. There are deep discussions there on intellectual topics.
And Larijani was, in many ways, the product of exactly that. A man who read Kant and Plato, who understood the West deeply enough to critique it from the inside, and who used that understanding not to reform the Islamic Republic, but to defend it with greater sophistication than most of its defenders ever could.